Here to talk about cheat days, dietary cheat days. Why would you want a cheat day? Do you really need a cheat day? And when is it okay? And what the hell does it even do? Does it actually serve a purpose, or is it just a psychological fucking strategy or tactic? well, well, it may come as a surprise. It may not, but a cheat day, you call it whatever you want to if that term offends you. I'm not so hung up on terms, as you're probably aware. You know, a rose by any other name still smells sweet, so whatever works, it works. I don't give a fuck what you call it, as long as we agree on what it is, what it actually. So a cheat day, in my world, what I do is, if I have somebody, or if you're out there, somebody out there, you're on a really good diet, which that word kind of offends me. You're on a really good nutritional program, and your diet, your dietary intake is really on point and good. And all the supporting factors surrounding that contribute toward fat loss, right? Muscle gain, fat loss. It's working. You're getting leaner, you're dropping body weight because you're somebody who was really clearly overweight and you don't want to weigh that much anymore. If you get to the point where you may have a sticking place, and you have to consider, I don't do the castaway diet routine thing. I do not starve. I don't starve the organism by, I don't cut calories in. Let's just leave it at that. And if that's new to you, you haven't been watching, I don't reduce calories in. Almost 100% of the time, probably 99.5% of the time, with anybody I would work with for a diet or meal plan, diet coaching type of thing, I always end up, the initial diet consists of enough food overall that they can't even eat. Many people can't even eat the whole diet at first. You have to build up to it, eat up to it, work up to it, in which cases I'll tell them, look, if you can't eat the whole diet, make sure you get all the water. You get a gallon of water a day, you get all the water down, you get all the protein down. And you try to eat up to the diet, and you keep me informed as we go, if you're not able to consume all of it immediately. But I don't starve people. I don't do the castaway diet approach, or the alone diet approach, where you just don't eat anything so you lose weight. That isn't worth paying anybody for. That isn't, you really need somebody to tell you that? Stop eating and you'll lose weight. Stop breathing and you'll cease to exist. Stop eating, you'll lose weight. Stop drinking water, you will become dehydrated, and things will go downhill rapidly from there. That's not doesn't take any real skill. Doesn't take any real skill to starve body weight off. And that's what we're talking there, body weight. When you do that, you're going to lose fat and muscle fairly evenly. Yes, even if you screw up, you're going to lose fat. I've found you'll lose body fat at a faster rate than you'll lose muscle, but you're going to lose, unnecessarily lose, excess muscle. There's no question. And the whole point is, when you do this castaway shit and you starve it all off by cutting calories in, then, you get lighter, but you end up getting to a place that you're going to be thin and flabby, or you're going to be lighter and flabbier. You already, if you're a really larger person and you're reducing size along with the weight loss, right, you're going to have you may have problems with loose skin. You may have some problems, but if you go and starve yourself and lose all your weight that way and lose your muscle and everything else, in other words, as the fat comes off, you're not really going to be shaped a whole lot better, unless you just consider better just simply being lighter and smaller. So I don't do that because that's not a challenge. I wouldn't do that with anybody, even if they asked me to do it. That's not a challenge. But don't get confused. My method, which it's all about thermogenic, diets, dietary thermogenesis, which Science is out there, studies are out there. I don't even care if there weren't any. There are plenty, but if there weren't any, it wouldn't even matter. It works, and I don't care what it says on a piece of paper. That just reading what it says on a piece of paper, that in and of itself, just because now I've read that and it's in my head, that's not going to make me successful. You know, implementation. You have to be successful at the strategy once you implement it. It has to be worth its inclusion, whatever that approach is. So I use a dietary thermogenic approach. Works great. It's fucking phenomenal success rate. And that way, you're eating enough food that the muscle still gets what it needs, the body gets what it needs. You're not feeling tired, you're not feeling run down, you're not feeling deprived of nutrition. But you're losing body fat. And as the body fat's coming off, ideally, the plan is we want to get the body fat off, but we want to have shape. As the fat comes off and reveals more of the musculature beneath, we want to end up not only being lighter, but also healthier and looking better. You know, those are the goals. That's the intent. So, but as I was saying, don't get it confused. I still am employing a calorie deficit approach. Still employing a calorie deficit approach. But I'm not reducing calories in. You understand? Which I've explained this so many times. I know this is probably boring people because I've said it so many times. You already know it. I don't have to reduce calories in because I can dig that hole and achieve that caloric deficit through the food selections, higher fiber, more thermogenic oriented food, and not everything at the beginning, but as the diet progresses, we want to keep the fat coming off. You know, we'll pull out this food and plug in a more thermogenic choice or option. You know what I mean? And that's how things roll. And of course, with protein being the most thermogenic macronutrient, protein's going to be healthy amount of protein for damn sure. You know, but it's an all well-rounded approach in its totality. Everything contributes. The supplements used, you know, store-bought shit. Certain supplements, they're going to help. The sport formula, just getting all your bases covered and not lacking these micronutrients, right? That helps. So all these little things that are included, they're there for a reason, and they all contribute, and in totality, we get the desired effect. So what happens with a cheat day? Well, no matter what you do, if you're trying to build muscle, if you're trying to gain weight, if you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to get leaner, whatever you're trying to do, you must challenge homeostasis, which is just a fancy word that means the balance that the body has found itself in, the resting place, when the dust settles, day in and day out. How your body just maintains itself with your lifestyle, with your nutritional choices, and there that is an anomaly, that is atypical. You upset homeostasis. And if you do not challenge homeostasis, you don't see progress. You don't see adaptation. You don't see results. That's how it gets there. So whether you realize it or not, it doesn't matter if you don't realize it. It's still, that's what's happening. You know, just because you don't know how the process works or how it's working, it doesn't mean it won't work, right? Like there are a lot of people out there that achieve results, but they don't have to understand all these details and shit. It just happens to be so, that the way they're training, the way they're eating, that's what's happening. And you think about it, that's what makes sense, right? So that's why everything is progressive. That's why progressive resistance and what you're actually doing, you're progressive resistance to the body. You're resisting, you're swimming against the current of the established homeostasis. The body likes normalcy. So when you challenge that, the body has to scramble and adapt and find a new way through a multitude of mechanisms of coping and adjusting so that this organism must survive and be able to deal with what's being thrown at it now. You know, it will reestablish itself. So as it's off balance, you experience all these gains, no matter what direction you're going in. And then when homeostasis is achieved again, the body says, okay, I'm onto it now. You had me fooled there. You threw me off balance, but we're running again like a smoothly, freshly oiled machine, and I've got consistency and normalcy, and I'm comfortable. Well, then you have to challenge that. You're constantly challenging homeostasis, in other words, whether you realize it or not. If you give a fuck, you look into it, you'll see that's what you're doing. So, the body being such an amazing organism, the human body, it's so amazing and so perfect when everything's running like it's supposed to run, that it will adapt to anything. It can slow down, it can speed up, it can do whatever it has to do to survive. You only eat 3 big meals and they're spaced far apart. People will argue, well, it doesn't matter, how many meals you eat. It matters the totality of the calories and the fats and the proteins, and that, to a point, that's correct. But if we're going at this, and from this day to this day, we're going to see exactly what we can achieve, and we don't want to hold back. We want to get all we can get. Incrementally, small, little rewards and wins at a time. We want to get what we can get. And why small chunks? Because if we do a big chunk, we're going to get that big chunk, but the body's going to very quickly figure that out. And once it figures that out, you're going to have to throw more at it. So it's just like cardio, if you think of it in those terms. If you start your cardio by doing 2 20-minute sessions a week, and it has to be productive cardio from a fat loss perspective, that stimulus it's going to support, or it's going to be worth its inclusion, that is going to be what you need to tip you over to where you will experience fat loss once that's added in, right? So initially you don't add it in. You don't add it in until you need to add it in, but you add it in a little at a time, 2 20-minute sessions a week, must be productive. Not going to get into all that. Wouldn't establish as a productive cardio workout. I've already done a million videos on it, pretty much. It has to be productive, and then when it doesn't reap any more returns, and this is things just to keep a steady loss going if you're trying to drop weight, if that's what we're trying to do, or lose body fat. So as you ratchet the cardio up, it's going to be very little at a time. So when it becomes time to ratchet it up, because now you're in better condition, your body's going to adapt very quickly. So now the body has regained this place of homeostasis, and it can do what you're asking it to do without having to lose any more. It's, hey, I'm healthy enough, my heart's strong enough now, cardiovascularly, I can do this, it's not a problem, it's nothing challenging me. Then we add a third one in, a 20-minute session. You see where we're going with this? And then when it comes time, it'll be a couple weeks, we don't have to add a fourth one. We can take those 20 minutes and make them 25 each. Follow? We could then make them 30 each if we need to. We could then add a fourth one if we're really that far along, but it takes a long time to get there to where that's a necessity, But that's why you do it incrementally, because if you do it in large amounts, either way you're challenging the established homeostasis, the body will figure it out. Once it figures it out, once it adapts, because it will, you have to be able to ratchet it up and now throw something new at it. And if you've already thrown everything at it, where do you go from there? Well, where you go is you end up doing cardio 2 times a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week, trying to get that last bit off. Because now the body's able to do what you're asking it to do. So it's like, that doesn't coax anything new out of me. I don't have to adapt. I can already provide that because you've got me in this condition now. So that's why you want to do things incrementally. Just enough is enough, right? So what the cheat day does, it's just a tool or a technique or tactic that, and I'll tell you, it works particularly well with women. Don't know why, don't need to know why, it does. It works with men, it works with everybody, but it works especially well with women. Now, every single person that I work with a diet, do they get to have a cheat day somewhere along the way? No. No, every person doesn't. Every person doesn't. No. You would have to be working a long time before we get to the point that I need to throw something like that out there. Because there's so many tactics and other things that are going to come first, that we're going to turn to first. So by the time we get to there, but the point is, sometimes you do get to a spot, especially with women, where they're just not losing more. And you don't want to cut the food so far. You don't want to cut the food, this is the whole point, to where they're hungry, to where you don't want to add that additional. It already takes a lot of willpower and discipline just to get up and get on a treadmill, just to meal prep every single fucking day, to eat your meals when you're supposed to eat your meals, all this stuff. The more regimented it is, the better your progress is going to be. Can you be less of all that and still progress? Yeah. But half-assed effort, in my opinion, is going to yield half-assed results. Right? If I cheat a little on my diet, am I still going to profit from the diet? Yeah, sure, I'll get something out of it. But I don't want to get something out of it. I want to get everything I can get out of it. You know what I mean? I don't want to count my chickens before they fucking hatch. I want to get everything I can get. So if we get to that point where I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, all right, we got to go somewhere. I don't want to reduce calories to an uncomfortable. I don't want to go through that. I don't want to be starving somebody. So instead, I'll throw a cheat day in there and say, okay, listen, pick a day of the week. What day is best convenient for you? And that day, that one day out of the week, you can eat any fucking thing you want all day. All day. I know, poof. People are going to call bullshit on it, right? But that's because you dumb fucks ain't never tried it. Those that are going to call bullshit. You haven't tried it, have you? You ain't tried it. And if you did try it, you did it, you plugged it in somewhere where it shouldn't have gone, right? You didn't earn that, right? You hadn't been on this fucking strategy, this plan, this course long enough and gotten enough wins under your belt that now we're at the point that maybe we need to turn to something like that. Not saying it's a bad thing at all. It's not a bad thing. It works. But it's one of the last things in that file cabinet. It's in the back of the file cabinet. There's so many other choices, so many other routes to take first. But by that time, it serves multiple purposes, because normally in females, by the time I get there to where that's where we're going, they've been doing this for quite a while now. And, they really have done a great job. And to be honest, they've got to be tired to some point of all of it, but they're enjoying the progress. So that's motivation in itself. It's self-perpetuating. Once you're seeing all the progress and people are commenting on how different you look and blah, 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 right? So, but unlike reaching for that chocolate chip cookie that you love at night while you're watching a movie, it's not instant gratification. It's not instant gratification. You work and you get paid, right? Grabbing that cookie, there's no work involved in that. Or that bowl of ice cream, there's no work in that. And immediately, it's gratifying, right? Immediately. Well, this isn't that. This is reprogramming the brain and changing your lifestyle. This is a delayed gratification. The gratification, it depends on perspective. For me, if I'm staying the course and I'm dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's, and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do every day, it's gratifying because I know what's coming. It never fails to work. I know what's coming, so. But as you get the rewards, you understand, then you get the gratification, and it's easier for most normal people to stay the course. And it's still hard. Not everybody can do it. But by the time we get to that point where I'm going to say, okay, let's throw a cheat day in there, people are usually like, what? So they're a little bit hesitant, but they want to do it. They want to embrace it. Instinctually, they say, man, I get to eat whatever I want. I've been so long without this, without that. Eat it. Eat it. I've had people that all week, they stayed on track and focused because they were working toward that cheat day. And I had one young lady that would actually buy her foods judiciously. She would shop and say, do I really want that when my cheat day comes up this week? No, but yeah, I want that. And all week, she would accumulate and keep her stuff in a bag. And then when cheat day came, she got up in the morning, bang, it's on. So why does that work? How can that be any good for you? Well, what it does is the body has managed to balance itself and it has normalcy and it has achieved some, in practical terms, in applicative terms, it's achieved a homeostasis again, even though it's adapting to these things now. Body's a fucking incredible biological organism, the human body. It will adapt to anything eventually, given enough time. So when the cheat day comes, you've been on this course every day, 7 days a week for how long now? It's been, as far as dietary consumption, has been very consistent, very much the same old same, except for where we pull something out and plug something in. And I may pull something out and plug something in. Once we're there, we're making enough progress, things are going along, flowing pretty good. I may put something in there that tastes a little bit good or treat-like, that's really still a good quality food. I'm not going to give you a bunch of that to start because we don't want that immediate gratification from food. We're trying to break that, right? So, but once you've had enough rewards and you see the physical progress and you've gotten the positive feedback, you kind of have a different take on what gratification is now, and you understand the work ethic and effort put in is worth this delayed gratification. So then we can do some other things. So it's a psychological thing as well as a physiological thing. But when the cheat day comes, what happens is the body's been chugging along and it's found some place of balance, because it has to. It'll go fucking crazy. It's like OCD if it can't find balance, and it will. And when it does, yeah, we can do something extreme, something drastic. I don't consider the cheat day extreme. It's not the first or second or third thing I. It's down the line, but it's there, and it works. So, every day it's getting X amount of food, X amount of food, X amount of food. Then all of a sudden, one day comes along, just unannounced, clear blue sky, total surprise. Now we're getting 2 or 3 times as many calories that day. And we're getting all kinds of fucking nutrition that we don't normally get. We're getting all kinds of, the macros, the micros, everything is scattered all to hell and back. The body's scrambling. It's like, what the fuck? Body likes normalcy. It likes balance. So now it's like, what in the shit is going on? It's almost in a panic or red alert mode. Literally, really, that day. You're not going to get fat in one day. You will get fat in 2 days. Okay, so you can. So it's one day, So at the end of that day, the very next morning, boom, you're back on the regimented meal plan. You're back on the plan. So it's not hard to understand when you look at it that way, how this confuses the body and jerks it around. Then the very next day, we're back to our established, consistent eating pattern. And what that does is it just kind of shakes it up and it wakes up that body a little bit. It literally shakes that metabolism up a little bit. That's all it does. It's like coming into the room, you've got something simmering, very, very low heat, and you give it a stir. That's kind of what you've done. And it's always amazing to people when, now if they had begun to reach kind of a stubborn point and they were having consistent progress and now they do this and all of a sudden weight's coming off again, it's mind-blowing, But that's what it is. It's all about learning your metabolism and finding out what works for you and how it works. And kind of, it's good to have a handle on why it works. So you'll see a lot of videos of people talking about cheat days. They don't want to call it a cheat day. I don't give a fuck what you call it. I don't care what you call it, But they're offended by that term, and I don't give a fuck about that. Be offended. Does it work or not? If it does work, who gives a fuck what you call it? Call it whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Call it Puff the Magic Dragon Day. I don't give a shit what you call it. And you'll see a lot of people in videos that are going to talk about it, say it doesn't work, it's counterproductive, it's bad, it's this, it's that, this doesn't make sense. But they don't have real knowledge. Now, can they have an effective dietary plan? Sure they can. This is just something they don't know about. This is just something they don't have experience with, really. And if they've had bad experience, you know, they didn't have, there's just too many intangibles. They just didn't have everything in place. Stage wasn't properly set, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? But most people, their knee-jerk reaction is to shun something that's foreign to them and say, oh, that doesn't work. No matter what it is, you'll see it all over YouTube. This doesn't work, that doesn't work. That one fucking guy, and all he does is make pretty well edited, nice videos, but making fun of people and poking fun of the fitness industry, and just that's his whole channel's about that. And he tries to throw a little bit of science in once in a while. But the problem is he has no first-hand personal experience, and that's very clear. And you know, he made a video once about L-carnitine attacking that it's worthless for fat loss. But the study that he based all of this on was a flawed study, and that's not the right way to employ L-carnitine for fat loss. Yeah, you don't just take L-carnitine and lose body fat. Again, that's a mentality that instant gratification without putting in the work. No, you got to do the work, and then you get paid. L-carnitine is just another tool, and you know, the inanimate tools in my toolbox, they can't do anything without me. They can't fix anything without me. That L-carnitine is just a tool. Now, if I need to use, you know, a 14 millimeter fucking wrench for something, let's say, and I don't have one, I'm not going to get there, right? But if I have it, I can take it out of my toolbox and employ it, and man, it works great. Or if you have just the right tool sometimes, even if it's something more exotic. Right? You have a fucking borescope or something. I even have one with an attachment that sees illuminated dyes and shit like that, right? There's, you know what I'm talking about, different dyes that you put in oil and you put in your air conditioning with your Freon, and you put it in, right? There's luminescent dyes, ultraviolet luminescent dyes. You know, but I have a borescope that's real nice Snap-on. I can put an end on it that's special, that just detects the illuminated ultraviolet dyes. And it's nice, you can feed that all over the place looking for air conditioning leaks, and you can stick it, sometimes you can actually get into where your condenser is and find leaks. Otherwise, you really would not be able to eyeball and put eyes on and say, yeah. You know, so it's, when you have the right tool, you know, employed at the right time in the right hands, man, it can be a game changer. You know what I mean? Bail you out. But, you know, if it doesn't matter if you have all the tools, if you don't have the knowledge or you don't have the ability, or you don't even open the box and they just sit out there, they're not really doing anything right now. They need you. They need to be in, but you got to know how to use it, when to use it. And you're really doing all the work. It's like a diet. Somebody can write you the perfect diet for you. Ideal diet, if there is such a thing. Perfect. And that's not, you're not going to compromise that. If you meal prep, that diet on that paper is an inanimate object, man. It can't make anything happen. It's a tool. You have to always do the work. You have to always do the work. Same with all the weights, right? Buying a bunch of weights and having them in your basement or your garage, that's not going to make you healthy. It's not going to build you any muscle. It's not going to make you stronger. They're not going to do anything. What are you going to come home every day and open a garage and say, hey, what are you guys doing? I don't feel stronger yet. I don't look bigger yet. Because you got to put the work in, right? And of course, I'm being ridiculous, but it's the same thing with everything. That's how it works. So that's the final word, man, on cheat days. I mean, it works. It works. If you want to nitpick, you know, oh, well, I think that the science, if it works, it only works because I don't give a fuck. Don't give a fuck. It works. Simple as that. In the right circumstances. You know what I mean? Give a monkey a gun and, right? So, in the right circumstances. That's it. You guys take care. Let me get this video up and try to get things back on track around here.